Good night. Good night. So a few remarks, few points. Nothing will be new, but I mean, I don't think that I have much new thing to tell you, many new things to tell you. So we'll repeat myself. So I'll speak about several issues that are not necessarily related or connected, and I'll do it just out of my head. Just things that arise today and yesterday, not necessarily like with kind of like order of importance, and again, not necessarily connected. First of all, and most importantly, regarding the second autopsy of the Full Metal Jacket. Oh, yes, we can do it. I don't believe that it will be of extreme interest. It's already dead. You're not going to find something incredible in it that we haven't found in the first autopsy. I mean, at most, like the best we can hope for, and the reason that I stated in one of the previous videos for presumably like the reason for this autopsy is maybe we will find some kind of interesting parasites or flesh eaters or metal eaters, secondary life forms on the carcass. But the carcass itself is not going to be nicer than the one that we found during the first autopsy. This is, of course, the state of Israel. It's dead long ago. It died before I was born. It was doomed to destruction, to annihilation, to complete annihilation because the sins of the people of Israel, the Jews of Israel, sins that started probably by the end of the 19th century or maybe the beginning of the 20th century. As an immediate response, the people that were more sinful perished, but this wasn't the ultimate punishment. The ultimate punishment was the destruction of the state. Now, other nations decided to keep it alive, mostly the USSR and the United States, that were very strong, and that was their decision. This was not the decision of God or decision of the cherubs. And it wasn't the correct decision, but in itself, it wasn't a major sin in itself. Because it's dead. There is nothing that these people, the Russians and the Americans, could have done to postpone this verdict indefinitely. Because if you take a dead state, sinful, disgusting, terrible, and you cut the elites that were the most sinful, and you inject other people that, have no loyalty to the state because they are just criminals that use the mechanism of the international mechanism of the intelligence, transfer, so inject it to the state, and you don't publicly acknowledge the sins, and you don't even speak about it, and it was inevitable that it would be like that because the nature of the sin, was directly related to the fact that everything was kept in hiding for so many years. What do you think that will become of it? The carcass will be, beautiful after 40 years? No, it will only be more disgusting. So the fact that Israel is disgusting now, in some way more disgusting than before, in some way is less disgusting than before, but still it's a disgusting carcass. This was inevitable. There was no way to save this country. And again, what Americans and the Russians have done, in itself it wasn't a great sin. The great sin was the sins of the Americans that continued the subjugation of the Titans and up until this day. And I will elaborate on that a little later in this video. This was a major sin of the Americans. But in itself, the artificial, keeping the state alive, connected to the machines, it was not in itself, it wasn't of great significance. Because this is a carcass of a state. There is no kind of question what will be the fate of Israel. The fate of Israel was doomed by the end of the 70s. It was doomed to destruction. Part of it, many of the most sinful people already died, but the entire state, it's just, connected to machines. Connected to machines, like a body in an orchestra connected to machines. To artificially prolong the life, but it cannot be done for too long. The Israelis, inevitably they become more stupid because the elites were, taken. So of course they became more stupid, more barbarians. And you see this Jurassic Park that, all around me. And inevitably they became, I would say, less, of course, connected, to their own past. And less, cohesive. Because, so many people, from abroad, join the state, but they don't have really loyalty to anything. They are like the dogs from Animal Farm that were taken as children and to be raised by the pigs in kind of alternate education system. That, of course, what kind of dogs will be made out of this? Violent, creatures that are only, at best, they, listen to the people that raised them. But they have no values because they were not even educated with any kind of values. They were raised in an alternate system of values. So these are the dogs that you see all around you, and it's inevitable. You don't really need to be genius to think how they will behave. And of course, they have no loyalty at all. And so the state is Jurassic Park. Of course so. And it depends on the United States for everything. They have no dependency. They have no sovereignty. It's just a disgusting park. Jail or zoo. Zoo is kind of a jail for prehistoric animals. No, we don't need a serious autopsy to know what will be found here. It's not going to be prettier than what it was during the 80s. Perhaps, sometimes less cruel because for the highest cruelty you need intelligence, and they don't have intelligence. They just don't have intelligence at all. They don't have it. I was born to see what's going on in the rest of the world. What will they do? And again, the decision itself to keep it alive, decision that was taken by both the Americans and the Soviets, it wasn't a correct decision, but it wasn't the essence of the sin. The essence of the sin is what happened later by the Americans themselves that are managing this zoo, this Jurassic Park, and they continue to do to commit atrocities. And they don't even understand what are the atrocities. They don't even try to think what they are doing. רוחצים בניקיון כפיהם. They think that they are so great, but they are the worst of all. And I'll speak about it a little bit more, just in a second. Just to finish the issue of Israel, the second autopsy will not find anything remarkable. Other nations should have known that communication is not the key to salvation. The key to salvation is the halt of communication. The stop of the sound, stopping, complete halt of messages, voices, metaphors, clues, hints. Any kind of communication is detrimental. They need to move arms and legs. They should have done it long ago. Arms and legs to rescue me and my daughters from this hell. We live in hell, we need a rescue. We do not need to be communicated at all. No communication is needed at all. And any communication will only be used against us by the Israelis. We require arms and legs. We don't need to know anything. We don't need to know who is against us and who is like, in our side and who is against us. And we don't need to know anything. We are prisoners of war in a cruel jail, subjected to unbelievable torture that is unheard of in the history of humanity. We need to be rescued, not to know anything. We need to be rescued. It doesn't matter what we know or what we do not know. What matters is that we need to be rescued using arms and legs. We do not need advice. We do not need any kind of message in the broadest way. We do not need any text in the broadest interpretation of the word text. In the most postmodern interpretation of the word text, we do not need it. No, not any text in any kind of broad definition of text. It's not required. Only arms and legs. Only arms and legs. It is impossible to rescue us while the mouth is open. It's impossible. It's an impossibility. It's either the mouth or rescuing us. And if you choose not to rescue us, you will all be dead very, very soon. By forces that you already are aware of, at least those that care, and now you already see it. And as I said many times, you should not see it. If you see it, it's too late. You should not see it. If you actually watch these things in your telescopes, it means that it's too late. That you're already like one leg in hell, as they say. You shouldn't have known about this stuff at all, and you certainly shouldn't have seen it. This was enough for you. Those paintings and other paintings of the same series should have been enough for you. You don't really need to see this stuff in any kind of telescope. If you see it, it means that that you waited for the last minute to stop your crimes, which means that you are with one leg in hell. You shouldn't have seen those entities at all. And of course, preferably, you shouldn't have even known about their existence, even not from the symbolic paintings. Even this is too much. Preferably, you shouldn't have even seen those paintings. And no need for that. You should stop the subjugation of other people. What the Israelis are doing to me is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And it was documented tremendously in this channel and in other channels. And they also do it to my daughters since they were 2 years old. They also do it to my daughters. I don't know if all of you have seen this post that I uploaded, just a couple of hours ago. So, if you've seen it, fine. If not, maybe, just I'll show you something. If you don't know about it, maybe it's time for you to know, but it's from the Evernote account. It's called, it's a note called Corporate Clouds, in which I discussed something regarding. So it was taken during April 13 and April 11, same week. You see, this is the picture of a photograph of Orin, my older daughter that was 6 years old at the time. You see that she has boils, all sorts of like boils on her neck. She had it several times. She was infected by it. It was by the people of Shoam. They took their immune system, the robots, the Jews, and infected it with that. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. And you know that the mother is operated by the Shabak, by the social workers. And they told her not to treat it at all, and that in 2 years it will pass by itself. So it's best not to treat it, because the treatment is presumably something that, it's too hurting. So it should. And the mother agrees with everything that the social workers say. They operate her. So that's what it is. Thought it's best for the child to have these kind of boils, and it wasn't only there, but also here, like in the most sensitive place. To keep it until presumably after 2 years, when she's 8, maybe it will pass by itself. But at the time, April 2022, of course, I still raised my daughters. They were half the time they were with me. And of course, I've done my duty as a parent. I took her to skin doctor. I knew how. I mean, you use nitrogen, frozen nitrogen. And yes, she cried for like 5 or 10 minutes maximum, and then she forgot about it. After a couple of days, it just goes off by itself. It's a simple treatment that is well known, and after that, she didn't have it. So these are the people that operate my ex-wife. First, they infect my daughters with this stuff. Second, they take their immune system from them. And third, they advise the mother not to treat it because it will pass after 2 years. And now I cannot even help my daughters if they are infected with such things because I haven't seen them in 1 year. It's a little bit more than 1 year that I haven't seen them, just using WhatsApp calls. Because ultimately, these social workers had a way, and they managed to keep me out of reach of my daughters so they can eat them alive, cannibalize on my daughters. That was always the target. And I should remind you that these social workers are the same social workers that wrote a review to the court that recommends that I should not see my daughters at all, just 1 hour every week in their offices. So they will be able to torture me as well. On the same week, I received this message from Pauline that she invited me to set a date for. I was unemployed at the time, and to set the date for an interview, a software engineer in Amazon Israel, AWS, in Tel Aviv. I wasn't employed because I was fired from Hermetic. I had a company in which I worked, and they abused me in the most disgusting way, and this was documented in the Evernote account, but also a little bit in this channel, in the YouTube channel. Abuse, disgusting abuse, and then they fired me. I don't feel I'm in an inclination to speak about it right now, but it was unbelievable abuse. The only thing that I understood from it is I cannot work as a hired person in Israel because I will be abused anywhere. Before that, I worked for 18 months approximately in MyHeritage, another IT company. That was at the time, it was a private company, it still is, and it was at the time under the control of Jeff Bezos, indirectly. Of course, eater of the Jews, of course. I was tortured in this company in unbelievable ways. And this was also documented. And eventually, they took me to a hospital. This was May 2019, and I speak about it a lot because this was when I set the date to the beginning of this discovery journey. The journey that I have, just me and God, when I try to understand reality and I document everything that I do in the last 4.5 years. In the last year, it's like there is an added layer of the science, the issues, but it didn't start like a year ago. Before that, I documented, all my traveling in Israel and prophecies, divinations, art. And I set this as a date, even though it should be said that before that, there was like a year or two of many questions and many kind of tremendous amount of evidence that I already started to gather that something is very different in my life. And it's not what it seems to be, and people around me are lying to me. So it wasn't really the beginning of the journey. But this was a major issue because I fainted that it never happened to me before and not after that, even though people tortured me all my life and even more so in the last year or two. But that was, in the workplace, it was unbelievable torture, both physical and mental together. Just to say how much I suffered from these people that eat my flesh for me. And of course, you understand the implication of this not coincidence. Let us infect your children with diseases and take their immune system from them like we do to you all your life. And maybe we will give you a job, even a lucrative job in Amazon. They pay very well, they say. As always, as if I do not deserve my salary. This was always the paradigm. That presumably I do not deserve my salary, even though I was always worked very hard, and I'm pretty good software engineer. I would say in the top 10%, even though not in the top 1%, but yes, and it's certainly in the top 10%. And I always was very loyal to any workplace where I worked, and I never received any salary that I didn't deserve. Never. Of course, I haven't only received 1 shekel. I mean, for all the juice that they take for me to be sell it all over the world, and also to create radioactive materials out of it. Billions of dollars. I have never seen 1 shekel of it. But even like the salary that I deserve, because my experience and my actual work, I never got what I deserved. And this was part of this paradigm that, I mean, let us torture your daughters as we torture you, and maybe you will not be unemployed. Of course, I didn't go to any interview, and eventually I ran out of money, and now I have nothing at all. I don't have any money at all. I'm poor and to the bone. This is why the United States decided to keep Israel alive. Not because they were so worried about the Titans and they wanted like to save the poor people of Venus. No, because they wanted the rich people and the strong people to have access to the tea. People like Jeff Bezos. I mean, I guess at the time it wasn't Jeff Bezos, but other people, I mean, in his image. But this was and this is the reason for this 51st state or territory of Israel, of the United States. Because the strong people and the rich people want the tea and want to eat me and my daughters alive. Should remind you that while we lived in Emek Ayalon Street, 41 Emek Ayalon Street, it's on my rented apartment in Shoham. We lived there for 4 years until I ran out of money. I lived there for 4 years. During that time, I worked in my heritage and also in Hermetic, but there was also unemployment time. And the people in this building were paid by the Americans to presumably protect us or guard us. I don't know, our heads. I don't know what's the name. Anyway, these people operated the oven, all sorts of like electromagnetic devices and sound effects that tortured us. Not only me, but also my daughters. And when we entered the apartment, they were 2 and 3 years old. And when we left the apartment, they were 6 and 7 years old. And after time, they were really with me. Of course, I raised them in this apartment after time. Just me. I've done everything. I mean, and just understand, these people, the neighbors in this apartment, they operated sound effects and electromagnetic attacks not only on me, but also on the children, the daughters, starting 2 and 3 years old. Like they think about it, 2 years old, 3 years old, sleeping in the room while they are being under subliminal attacks and electromagnetic attacks. And the people that are doing the attack are the people that are paid by the American taxpayer. We will never forgive them for that. We will never forgive them for that. We will never forgive the United States for what they've done to us. And I tried to speak, I mean, to upload posts like to Facebook about it, but I was blocked by, presumably, ooh la, from War of the Worlds, ooh la, the cry of the alien attackers. עברת על תנאי השימוש. This is the ooh la. The fact that, I spoke about whatever is going on in my apartment, my own apartment, without any kind of obscenities or any kind of, without even name calling, just, said what's going to, just documented the torture that I and my daughters are subjected to and uploaded to Facebook. It was enough, for my dear friends, Facebook friends probably, to report that I violated the terms of use, the ooh-la. And of course, the posts were deleted, and my account was kind of like, suspended for a time. That's why I decided to continue with Twitter. But in the last year, I'm by court order, I cannot use Twitter, so I started this YouTube channel. This is my journey with the social networks of humans. These people are paid by the Americans to torture me for a long, long time. Because the rich and the powerful people of the United States wanted the Jews and wanted to eat me and my daughters alive. We will never forgive the United States of America. And other nations, if they wish maybe to have any kind of chance of survival, at least part of them, part of the people, they should stop communication with Israel, stop communication with the United States, stop communication at all. Run to Israel to rescue me and my daughters from this hell using arms and legs. Only arms and legs. If the mouth is open, no rescue will be done. This was promised by God himself. Noam, my son, you will not be rescued from Israel by people that have an open mouth. No chance. Either you will not be rescued at all and every human being will be dead, or you will be rescued by a group of people outside of Israel that will commit themselves to stop communication, to stop the movement of the mouth. These are the two options that you have, Noam. That's what God told me. Either all humans are dead, or a group of humans rescue you and your daughters, but only a group of humans that will be dedicated to life, committed to life, to the sanctity of life over ego. And this can only be manifested by this complete halt of any kind of communication, closing the mouth in any concrete and metaphorical way that you can think of. Closing the mouth. Some people are still curious about what's the meaning of these paintings of this woman. 4 double, 4. So one thing is simple, that is there are 4 oil paintings, 4 acrylic paintings. 2 of each woman, not exactly the same, not the same paint, the same. Obviously, these are pairs of these are 4 individual women, and both in acrylic and oil. And of course, that it signifies both the Titans and the Homo sapienses, the pairs. And some people still don't understand, what does it mean? Who are these women? Did they have sex with him? Did they didn't have sex with him? What happened? Is this a symbol for something? And I've said it many times. I've repeatedly, you just need to listen in order to understand what's the message. The message is very simple. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter at all. Yes, the paintings are based on actual women, 4 women. One was my ex-wife and the operator, and 3 others that I actually did not have sex with. And actually what happened between me and them is not of importance, even though I spoke about it mostly in the Evernote account. It's like old news, and it's not that important. It's only important, because it kind of in retrospect helped me understand all sorts of things, but this is of no significance. This is of no significance. This woman or another woman, it's of no significance at all. Of course, these symbolize nations, and I've discussed it long ago. And this is perhaps the basic metaphor of God. And it appears a lot in the Bible, but I spoke about it explicitly. Young woman as a metaphor for a nation. It's not a new thing at all. And on the same vein, you should have understood the mantis issue. Because I think that, people didn't really, exactly do the correct metaphor from the mantis episode that was recorded maybe yesterday or the day before. Because maybe they understood it as a metaphor for things that happen between humans, between Homo sapiens as men and women, but this wasn't the important thing. You can do any kind of metaphor if you want. The act of interpretation is unlimited. But from my perspective, the crucial metaphor is the metaphor not of a relationship between Homo sapiens men and women, but between Homo sapiens nations and God. You pray to God. Muslim, actually, pray when they are actually on the floor, on a mattress, and and Jews, bow to him, with Tfilat Shmona Esrei, and again. And Christians go to church and say that, Jesus here and Jesus there. And then, when it's over, you crap in his face. Just like that. Who is your God exactly? Who is your Lord? The Lord. Who is this Lord? Who is this Lord? This kind of Lord, perhaps. Tush in Hebrew. It's called Lord in Hebrew. That's how you paint things. This is the Lord. This is your Lord. You paint with it. All sort of stuff that you want to paint. But really, who is your God? I mean, can you say something about him? Because I would suggest, and I've said it long ago, that, I mean, I don't know who is your God, but if this God, I mean, will actually heed to your prayer, like, I mean, and save you from the aliens, it should be like a disgusting God. Unbelievably cool and disgusting. Why should God be on your side? Unless he's kind of like a guide from, I don't know where. From, like, of course, it's kind of like a racist and ignorant, but still, I mean, it's very famous, so we'll use it. I mean, the kind of like fictional version of Kali from the Temple of Doom. I know it's very racist, and, it's not like I do not mean to offend the people of India. I just, I mean, it's very famous, like a movie. So, I mean, this kind of God. This is your God, the God of the Temple of Doom, the God that requires the cannibalism of children and the subjugation of children and taking food of like poor people that are starving. This is your God? Because if it's not your God, why should he listen to your prayers? Why? I don't know. I really don't know. Now regarding the Titans, as I said, most of my life I have never known nothing about them, and that fact enough in itself is enough to tell me, to suggest very strongly that the Titans of Earth are not the focus of my mission here. The problem is what's going on Venus and what you do to me and my daughters, and this is of course related. It's actually physically related because of the fact that the gates cannot be used without a cherub. That's why the Israelis did not execute me long ago. That's why it wasn't, the gates were not always used in the history of humanity. It's not only reason, but it's one of the reasons is that you cannot use the gates if there is no cherub in Earth. And there was not always the cherub in Earth, even though that there were quite a bit. I'm certainly not the first. Far from it. People knew of my kind, like, I mean, since thousands of years ago, even though, of course, they didn't have like the capacity and the education, like the knowledge of, like, I mean, they couldn't conceptualize us the way we truly are, but arguably this is even true to you now. I don't know if you can actually conceptualize us like in the correct way. It doesn't even matter, because the way that we appear to you is always like humans just like you. But this is the main issue. The Titans of Earth, first of all, those that in Israel are disgusting like all the other Israelis. And I shouldn't care about them at all, and I do not care about them at all. And those that are outside of Israel, I already told you, I don't know nothing about them. Obviously, there are certainly a lot of them that are just as sinful as the Israelis, and they bought the stuff from the Israelis, and sometimes the Israelis lied to them and sold them not what the yellow stuff, but their own red stuff, or all sorts of, like, I mean, things from Venus, like, I mean, there were also, this is actually drug dealing. What can you expect when you drug deal with, and the dealer is a known liar and scumbag? I mean, but they are all Nazis, both the sellers and the buyers. I mean, they are all Nazis. Maybe there are other Titans like abroad that were not part of this kind of like a sick dealership. I would assume probably those that live in countries that, I mean, are not in good terms with Israel. I mean, I guess like Iran or things like that. I would guess, because, I mean, but even that is not necessarily true, because that international intelligence is so convoluted that, I mean, it's possible that even like Titans that live in Iran bought the stuff from Israel. It's like, I mean, if it's true, I wouldn't fall off my feet like to learn that, because of like it's so complicated, like that, the planter, like the interweaving, the interweaving like threads and ropes of the international intelligence. But I know nothing about it, and I just don't know. It's not of my main concern. My main concern right now is, first of all, myself and my daughters, and in a more general sense, the people of Venus. And it's connected because, first of all, the actual issue is the operation of the gates, but moreover, the Israelis treat me like shit because of the, the Venusian scenes that, they already seen doing it long ago. I mean, why do they abuse me so much? Because, they want to abuse another planet. And, this is, obvious. They step on my, they step on my face. Their boots is always on my face because they want to keep the boot on another planet. Like they wanted since 100 years ago and more than that. So that's why I should be so poor, without even clothes, you see? Without money for food, depends on charity, and always under the threats of all sorts of Tyrannosaurus and Triceratops and all sorts of, disgusting creatures from prehistory. Because they want to subjugate another planet. The Jesus connection is secondary. And for many people in Israel, they don't even care about it at all. They don't care about Jesus Christ at all. This way or another. They care about, they want to subjugate another planet, and they understand that keeping the boot on my face is a way to do it. And they're completely right. That yes, when they keep the boot on my face, it's humanity that keeps the boot on another planet's face. Yes. In that, the Israelis are correct. And I don't know why other nations did not understand this simple thing that, was so obvious to the Israelis. That the way they treat me, it's like, this is how they treat another planet. It was so obvious, and everybody understood it in Israel. And that's why they keep the boot on my face. So I don't care that much about the Titans that are already in Earth, because there are two kinds. Those that, are Israeli or dealing with the Israelis, and they are just Nazis that should die. And those that, are completely disconnected from my life, and I don't know nothing about them. I don't even know they're good, they're bad, they're ugly. I don't know. I don't know nothing. And probably if they know about me, and if I would have known about them, it says that that they were part of this dealership, and it means that they are Nazis like the Israelis. Like I would suggest that the only kind of relationship that I can have with such Titans is that I don't know nothing. Is that if they are not Nazis, is that I don't know nothing about them, and they don't know nothing about me. It's the only possible option, and I can have, by definition, I can say not anything about it. So that's it for now.